Have you ever wondered why some relationships thrive while others crumble? A question that has puzzled many of us at some point, isn't it? Relationships, like the people in them, are complex and multifaceted. They are influenced by a myriad of factors, some within our control and others beyond it. The intricacies of relationships are akin to an intricate puzzle. Each piece, whether it represents communication, trust, respect, or love, is essential to complete the picture. But what happens when a piece goes missing, or doesn't quite fit? The picture becomes incomplete. The relationship may falter or even fail. This complexity is what makes relationships fascinating, yet challenging. It is also why it's impossible to provide a one-size-fits-all guide to successful relationships. Each one is unique, influenced by the individual personalities, experiences, and expectations of those involved. But don't despair. While there isn't a magic formula, there are fundamental principles that can guide us in building strong and healthy relationships. Principles that, when applied, can help us navigate the complex labyrinth of human connections, and perhaps even solve some of the mysteries that make relationships so intriguing. That's what we're here to explore. Over the next 20 minutes, we'll delve into the world of relationships. We'll discuss the foundation of strong relationships, the role of compatibility, and how to navigate conflict. We'll hear insights from relationship experts, and we'll provide practical tips you can apply in your own relationships. The aim? To equip you with the tools you need to build relationships that are not only strong and healthy, but also enriching and fulfilling. Because relationships, at their best, can provide us with some of life's most rewarding experiences. So, are you ready to join us on this journey? Ready to delve into the world of relationships to explore their complexities, their challenges, and their rewards? If so, you're in the right place. So, let's dive in and unravel the mystery of building strong and healthy relationships. What do you believe is the foundation of a strong and healthy relationship? This question has been asked time and again, and while answers may vary from person to person, certain elements repeatedly surface as the bedrock of any thriving relationship. Let's delve into these foundational elements: trust, communication, respect, and love. Firstly, there's trust, the cornerstone of any relationship. Trust is like a fragile vase. Once broken, it can be fixed, but the cracks will always show. It's the unwavering belief that your partner will be there for you, always, in all ways. It's the safety net that allows us to be vulnerable, to open up, and to truly connect with another human being. Next, we have communication. Picture this: two people speaking different languages trying to understand each other. Sounds complicated, right? That's precisely what happens when communication is lacking in a relationship. It's not just about talking, but also listening, understanding, and responding. It's about sharing your thoughts, your fears, your dreams, and your feelings openly and honestly. Then there's respect. It's about recognizing and appreciating the uniqueness of your partner. It's about valuing their opinions, their feelings, and their desires as much as your own. Respect is about accepting your partner as they are, not as you want them to be. It's about creating a safe space where both of you can be yourselves without fear of judgment. And of course, there's love. It's the glue that holds everything together. It's not just about the butterflies in your stomach or the romance novel kind of love. It's about the everyday love, the kind that shows up in small gestures, shared laughter, and comforting silence. It's about choosing your partner every day, in every moment, even when the going gets tough. To lend a deeper perspective into these elements, we've invited a relationship expert who will provide insights into the intricacies of building a strong and healthy relationship. As our expert has pointed out, without these foundational elements, a relationship is like a house built on sand. These elements are the building blocks, the cement that holds the bricks together, creating a fortress that can weather any storm. Joining us today is Dr. Jane Smith, a renowned relationship counselor. Dr. Jane Smith, thank you for being with us today. You've dedicated your career to helping people build strong, healthy relationships. Can you tell us about the foundational elements you often emphasize in your counseling sessions? Absolutely. In my practice, I prioritize 3 key elements that I believe form the bedrock of any successful relationship: communication, trust, and mutual respect. Without these, a relationship can easily crumble. That's insightful. Let's delve into these elements a bit more. Can we start with communication? Certainly. Communication is the lifeblood of a relationship. It's not just about talking, but also listening, understanding, and responding. It's about sharing your thoughts, feelings, and experiences. and being open and receptive to your partner's perspective. And what about trust? Trust is paramount. It's the foundation upon which all other aspects of a relationship are built. Trust means believing in your partner's integrity and having the confidence that they will act in your best interests. It's a two-way street and requires consistent effort from both parties. That makes sense. And the third element, mutual respect? Mutual respect is about acknowledging and valuing your partner's individuality. It's about accepting them for who they are, appreciating their unique qualities, and being considerate of their feelings and desires. Respect is closely tied to equality in a relationship. These elements are indeed fundamental. Now, what are some practical tips to strengthen these elements in a relationship? To enhance communication, make time for meaningful conversations. Be an active listener and express your feelings honestly and respectfully. For trust, keep your promises and be reliable. Show your partner that you value and respect their trust in you. As for mutual respect, celebrate your partner's individuality. Encourage them to express themselves freely and equally contribute to the relationship. Those are some great tips, Dr. Smith. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to add? Just this: a relationship is a journey, not a destination. It's a process of growth, discovery, and mutual understanding. It requires patience, effort, and a willingness to learn and adapt. Remember, the strength of a relationship lies not in its perfection, but in its resilience. Thank you, Dr. Smith, for your invaluable insights. It's clear that understanding and strengthening the foundation of a relationship is essential. How important do you think compatibility is in a relationship? Now let's dive into this topic and explore the role of compatibility in relationships. Compatibility is the glue that holds relationships together. But what exactly does it mean? In simple terms, compatibility is about having harmonious coexistence. It's about being able to enjoy each other's company, share similar values, and have mutual respect for each other. It's not about having identical interests or personalities, but about complementing each other and bringing out the best in each other. For instance, imagine a relationship as a jigsaw puzzle. Each piece is unique and distinct, yet when put together, they form a complete picture. A relationship is similar. Each person brings their own strengths, weaknesses, experiences, and perspectives to the relationship. When these elements come together, they create a unique and beautiful bond that is greater than the sum of its parts. But let's not confuse compatibility with comfort. Just because you're comfortable with someone doesn't necessarily mean you're compatible. Comfort can sometimes stem from familiarity or fear of change, but compatibility is about growth, understanding, and mutual respect. Moreover, compatibility is not static. It evolves over time as we grow and change. What was once a perfect fit may not remain so forever. This is why communication is key. It's important to keep checking in with each other, understand each other's evolving needs, and work together to ensure your relationship remains compatible. This brings us to our next relationship expert, who will provide more insights into this topic. They'll delve deeper into the nuances of compatibility and share practical tips on how you can nurture and maintain it in your relationships. So, as we prepare to hear from our next expert, remember that compatibility doesn't mean being identical, but rather complementing each other. It's about finding that perfect balance where you can be your true selves, yet come together to form a stronger bond. Because after all, a successful relationship is not about finding the perfect person, but about learning to love an imperfect person perfectly. We are delighted to have with us Mr. John Doe, a respected relationship psychologist. A warm welcome to you, John. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today, sharing your wealth of knowledge on a topic that's so integral to our lives, relationships. Now, as a relationship psychologist, you've spent countless hours delving into the intricacies of human connections. Today, we're particularly interested in understanding the role of compatibility in relationships. Can you enlighten us on that? Compatibility, the magic ingredient that can make or break a relationship. It's a term that's often tossed around, but what does it really mean? Well, at its most basic, compatibility is about how well you mesh with your partner. It's about shared values, common interests, and mutual respect. But it's also about how you handle disagreements, how you communicate, and how you support each other in times of stress. That's fascinating, John. It's clear that compatibility is multifaceted and complex. Now, given its importance, how can couples improve their compatibility? Improving compatibility is less about changing who you are and more about understanding your partner and finding common ground. It starts with open communication. Be honest about your wants, your needs, your fears, and your dreams. Listen to your partner and strive to understand their perspective. Remember, it's not about winning or losing an argument, it's about finding solutions that work for both of you. Another key aspect is spending quality time together. Shared experiences help to strengthen the bond between you and your partner. They allow you to create memories, learn about each other, and build a shared life. And don't forget about the importance of respect and kindness. Treat your partner with the same courtesy and consideration you'd want to be treated with. Lastly, remember that compatibility is not a fixed state. It's something that can grow and change over time as you and your partner evolve. It requires effort, patience, and a willingness to adapt. But the rewards, a strong, healthy, and fulfilling relationship. Thank you, John, for those insightful tips. There's a lot to unpack there, but it's clear that compatibility is not just about shared interests or similar personalities. It's about understanding, respect, and a willingness to work together. Before we wrap up, is there a final piece of advice you'd like to share? Absolutely. Remember that every relationship is unique. What works for one couple may not work for another. It's about finding what works for you and your partner, and being willing to put in the work to make your relationship the best it can be. Thank you, Mr. Doe, for your enlightening perspective. It just goes to show how integral compatibility is to the health of a relationship. What comes to mind when you hear the word conflict in a relationship? Often we associate conflict with arguments, resentment, and even the potential end of a relationship. But let's shift our perspective a bit. Conflict, believe it or not, is an inevitable part of any relationship. Yes, you heard that right. It's not just normal, but it's also necessary. Why? Because it signifies that there are two different individuals involved, each with their own unique perspectives, experiences, and values. And these differences at times may clash, leading to disagreements or conflicts. Now, the key here is not to avoid conflict, but to understand how to manage it effectively. It's about finding ways to communicate, compromise, and connect, even in the midst of a heated disagreement. It's about turning those moments of discord into opportunities for growth and deeper understanding. Think of it like this: conflict is a chance to learn more about your partner. It's an opportunity to understand their point of view, their fears, their desires, and their expectations. So, instead of viewing conflict as a threat, consider it a tool for building a stronger, healthier, and more understanding relationship. But how do we do that? How do we navigate through these choppy waters of disagreement without capsizing our relationship boat? Well, that's where our next expert comes into play. We've got a seasoned relationship expert lined up for you who will be sharing some invaluable insights on managing and resolving conflicts in relationships. So, as we prepare to dive into these insights, let's remember this: conflict, in itself, isn't a bad thing. It's not a sign of a doomed relationship nor a stamp of incompatibility. It's simply a part of our journey in understanding and loving another human being. And it's how we handle this conflict, how we respond to it, that truly defines the strength and health of our relationships. As we await our next expert's insights, remember that conflict isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's how you handle it that matters. Our third expert is a mediator and conflict resolution specialist, Mrs. Emily Brown. Mrs. Brown has dedicated her career to helping couples navigate the often choppy waters of disagreement and misunderstanding. Today, she's here to shed light on how to handle conflict in a healthy way and how it can even strengthen a relationship. As Mrs. Brown often emphasizes, conflict is a natural part of any relationship. It's not a sign of weakness or failure, but rather an opportunity for growth and understanding. She believes that the key to resolving conflict lies in effective communication, mutual respect, and a willingness to compromise. According to Mrs. Brown, effective communication is about more than just speaking your mind. It's about truly listening to your partner, understanding their perspective, and responding with empathy and respect. This doesn't mean you have to agree on everything, but it does mean acknowledging your partner's feelings and validating their viewpoint. Another important aspect of conflict resolution, as Mrs. Brown explains, is mutual respect. This means treating your partner with kindness and consideration, even when you're angry or upset. It means avoiding hurtful words and actions and instead focusing on the issue at hand. Remember, it's not about winning or losing, but about understanding and resolving. Compromise is also crucial when it comes to handling conflict. As Mrs. Brown points out, no one gets their way all the time. Sometimes you have to meet in the middle, and that's okay. Compromising doesn't mean you're giving up or losing. It means you're prioritizing the health and happiness of your relationship over your individual wants and needs. But what if you've tried all this and you're still struggling with conflict? Mrs. Brown suggests seeking professional help. A mediator or therapist can provide a neutral perspective and offer strategies for resolving conflict that you might not have considered. Mrs. Brown also encourages couples to view conflict as an opportunity rather than a threat. Each disagreement is a chance to learn something new about your partner, to deepen your understanding of each other, and to strengthen your bond. Instead of fearing conflict, embrace it as a tool for growth and connection. In conclusion, Mrs. Brown reminds us that conflict is not the enemy of a healthy relationship, but rather a part of it. It's how we handle conflict that determines the strength and longevity of our relationships. So, the next time you find yourself in the midst of a disagreement, remember Mrs. Brown's advice. Communicate effectively, respect each other, compromise, and if necessary, seek professional help. Thank you, Mrs. Brown, for your expert advice. Indeed, handling conflict well can actually strengthen a relationship. As we wrap up, let's reflect on the key takeaways from our experts. We've taken a deep dive into the realm of relationships, unraveled its mysteries, and explored its foundations. One thing we've learned is that relationships are not built on love alone. They require a solid foundation of trust, respect, and mutual understanding. These are the bedrock upon which strong and healthy relationships are built. Our first expert spoke eloquently about the importance of these foundational elements. They reminded us that relationships are a two-way street where both parties should feel valued, respected, and heard. This means that communication is key. It's not just about speaking your mind, but also about listening to understand, not merely to respond. Next, we delved into the role of compatibility in relationships. It's not about finding someone who's exactly like you. Rather, it's about finding someone whose values align with yours. Compatibility is about sharing common goals and dreams, and respecting each other's individuality and differences. Our second expert gave us some great insights into the importance of compatibility in relationships. They emphasized that compatibility is not about having the same likes and dislikes, but about being able to work together towards a shared vision while respecting each other's unique paths. Then we unpacked conflict in relationships. Conflict is inevitable, but it's how we handle it that determines the health of our relationships. Healthy conflict resolution involves open and honest communication, empathy, and willingness to compromise. Our third expert gave us some valuable tips on how to navigate through conflicts in a constructive way. They reminded us that it's not about winning or losing, but about understanding and growth. Remember, building strong and healthy relationships takes time, effort, and understanding. Keep these tips in mind as you navigate your relationships. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Motivational Grand Rising, and hit the bell icon for future updates. Here's to healthier and stronger relationships.